Hi everybody, I'm Diane Marentet with the New Brain for Business Institute.
And I'm Rich Trafton.
And we're going to talk with you today about the myth of the raise. Our December subject is performance management, and as you know, and are probably starting to live right about now, there are a lot of activities having to do with closing out 2010 and starting up 2011 from a performance perspective. And part of that is because we want to be able to give base pay raises, and we want to begin to communicate some ideas about how the processes that we use just are not really getting us the most for our businesses. And so this is actually a place we're thinking that we might start.
Yeah, and there's some really great research we'll talk about here in just a moment or two that really clearly demonstrates the connection between rewards and performance, and I think you'll find it informative and striking, and hopefully you can find a way to make use of it in your business.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to step out, Rich is going to take over, and I will be back.
The research I want to share with you just now, I'm going to call the Hungry Rat Experiment. And here's how this experiment works. We have a runway, it's maybe 6 or 8 feet long, got high walls, and it's made out of wood typically, and it's got no features on the inside, it's just open. And down on one end we have a little food tray. There's no food in it at the moment. Down the other end we put our trusty lab performer Rusty, the rat, in the box, and Rusty's a good performer, especially when he's hungry, and we've got him real hungry right now. So when we put Rusty in the box, he's sniffing around, he gets up and looks over the edge and does all sorts of snooping around, and eventually finds himself down at the other end, and we're timing that to see his speed. And so we let him do that a few times to kind of get that base measurement. And then each time we take Rusty out and put him back in the other end. So we take Rusty out without him being able to see. We put a very small food pellet in the food tray, and we put Rusty back in, and he gets to work, and he sniffs and snoops, and eventually he gets down there and he finds that food pellet. He likes it. So the next time, so we take Rusty out, we put another food pellet in, and we put Rusty back in, and being the high performer he is, he zips right down to the end and gets another bit of food. And so we let Rusty do that a few times, and each time we're measuring his speed. And then on one of the trials, after we take him out, we give Rusty a raise. We double his pay. We're going to put 2 food pellets in there. We put Rusty in and see how fast he goes down there for 2 pellets, and we let him do that a few times and measure his speed then as well. And then on yet another trial, we take him out, we put 3 food pellets in, we give him another big raise. We put Rusty in, we measure his speed with 3 food pellets and see what happens. Okay. So that's the gist of the experiment. So now the question is, how does Rusty's performance map out after he's gotten these raises? Let's take a look. See what happens. So what we will see that happens is we have over here on this axis speed, fast and slow, and down here we'll change the rewards. So when we put Rusty in and there's no food in there, he's going to go really not very fast. He's just going to meander his way down. But right here we put the 1 food pellet in, and bang, Rusty is in a hurry. His speed goes up right away. But next time in, his speed isn't quite as fast. It falls off a little bit. And indeed, after very short order, his speed comes down to some level and flattens out. And so we had 1 food pellet here, and so big increase, but then it falls off and he steadies out here. This is kind of his, regular performance, if you will. Then we put in 2 food pellets, bang, performance up again, but then rather quickly falls back off and he flattens out again. Well, what happens when we go to 3 food pellets? Well, we get the same thing. And so what we see is that the increase in reward changes behavior, but just for a short while. So when we put this in terms of money, and these are levels of pay, then we get exactly the same thing. People get excited for a while, but then they're back to usual. So we give somebody a raise, and by golly, they're excited. Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be a part of the team. But you know, by about the second paycheck, that's all invisible. It's absorbed into the monthly expenditures and so forth. So it no longer has the meaning that it used to. But the amount of money you're paying continues to go up, even though the performance averages right around whatever that person's baseline work performance is. It's just really hard to alter that with just pay raises. And you know, if you have increasing expenditures and no increase in performance, I would say that's not good business. And you know, that's what the research shows us. So what I'd like to do now is invite Diane to join us again, and we can walk through some of the practical implications of this for your business.
Okay, so hope you enjoyed meeting Rusty and finding out about him. What we're going to do now is spend a few moments talking about so what for us in the workplace when we're trying to run a good business. What are the implications? And so here are some of the implications we think that came out of, let me see if I can coordinate this, yes, there we go. What are some of the implications that came out of the things that Rich talked about? And the first one, I think, would be this, that changes in pay don't create sustained changes in performance. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about that.
That's one of the biggest myths,
yeah,
is we think that when we give people a raise, we're rewarding them, and therefore they're going to change their behavior. Well, just for a little while.
Yeah. The second one is that people respond to this change, this dollar amount that they received from you in some way, but then they revert back to their baseline of performance, as you saw from Rusty and his antics.
So those raises that you give out are just a short-term stimulus, and it's really an annuity for the employee. They continue to get it forever, and you only got the performance for a little while. As I said, I don't think that's good business.
Yep. Let's see. Making some space here for this. So if you have standard time raises, so every year people get raises on January 1st or July 1st or whatever that is, that it's actually the anticipation of the raise, not the raise itself, that triggers any kind of activity from people, and specifically what they're waiting for is the announcement on the raise to confirm for them that they're getting something that they already anticipate. And then by the time you get to the dollars received, a lot of that energy has dissipated.
And in fact, it actually can have a negative impact. So by the time you dish out the raise, people are already cranky because they didn't get their raise soon enough. And all that the raise does is sort of soothe the crankiness. It doesn't do anything to change performance.
That's a good point. And then when the dollars do come to us in an unexpected way, where you've heard of people, and you may do this yourself in your organizations, where you hand out some sort of a raise or an increase or a bonus without having given any warning of that. So when that happens, people are paying attention to what just happened. What triggered this really?
And the function of rewards in all animals, including humans, is they are associated with things that happen right before the reward happened, no matter what you intended to have happen.
And in fact, not at a conscious level, correct?
Right. And so even though you may say to somebody, you know, you're getting this raise because of that great project you did last summer, their brain is connecting it to what happened yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Okay, one last point that we think is important, and it is that the amount of money that you give people is relative. It is relative to their understanding about how money works within your organization or external to your organization. So it's not the absolute amount, here's $5, $50, $500, or $5,000. It's what are other people getting?
And in fact, you've probably experienced this yourself. you're going along and you think you're making plenty of money, and then you're at a party and your brother-in-law says, you know, that he makes half again that much doing the same thing somewhere else, and all of a sudden you're not happy.
Yeah.
What changed is you still have the same amount of money, it's just that your understanding of what that money means changes when you see it in a relative context. And humans absolutely respond to money in a relative way, without question.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to leave you hanging there. We want to put together some more information for you about how do you change your pay program so that you do get more out of it from your employees, and that the system works better than perhaps it is working right now. I will tell you, we will tell you, that it is not going to be an easy shift. Because of the myths that we've been living with, it's not going to be easy to just go, oh, instead of this, let's do that, and then we're all good. So we're going to begin to put together some information for you on that. If you have specific questions, please write to us at info@newbrainforbusiness.com. You can find that on our website. And also we invite you to sign up for our newsletter, which you can do on our website. And always buy our book if you're interested. So thanks again for joining us. Did you want to say anything else?
No more pay raises.
All right. Thanks again.